What's up, nigga YouTube? It's your boy FB Kicks and Gear, and I am back with another sneaker legit checking guide. And as you can see, we have the Travis Scott 1 High Fragment collab. Now, we see a lot of videos on the lows. The lows are clearly the favorite. At least on my last channel, I've done probably 6 or 7 legit check guides on different various batches of the lows, and I'm going to attempt to do a different kind of legit check guide on this one. Unfortunately, I do not have an authentic pair of these to do a real versus fake comparison, but I do have an authentic pair of the OG Travis Scott highs and the Fragment lows, and between the two of them, there's actually a lot of things that you can look at, that you can hone on these to see if they are good or bad or whatever, but it'll be something that you can ground your analysis on. And there is definitely enough that you can make a pretty educated decision if you have access to one of those. So before we get into this video, if you ever want to do some more research, find some more detailed pictures and everything like that, head over to Yes Yeezy's Instagram account, and I will put that up on the screen here, and you will be able to see very detailed, intricate pictures that will absolutely help you with your research and your legit checking guide. So I'll have their information up so that you can look, and you'll find plenty of pictures of these in their recent posts, and you'll be able to look at the minor details so you know exactly what you're looking for and what direction to head into. But first thing that I want to do is I just want to do like a quick 360 of the shoe so you can see it. The one thing that I love about these shoes, and it's something that I'm pretty critical of on the lows, is the quality on these is fantastic. Even the reps are like really good quality, and the lows, honestly, they weren't bad, but they were kind of par for the course for a Jordan 1 low. They felt like a regular release Jordan 1 low in terms of quality. These, you can see all that soft tumbled leather, especially the white. Looks absolutely fantastic, and you can see that it's thick as well. You see those cut edges. And you can see the different Cactus Jack face and everything like that. One of the things that you know, every year StockX releases a list of the shoes that are the most attempted fakes to get past authentication. With all that said, let's start actually getting into the breakdown. And the first thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to take out my authentic pair of the original Travis 1 Scott highs, and we can start doing some side-by-sides and looking at some things. So we have my original Travis 1 Scott highs, and we are going to be using these as the overall basis for shape, for material, for the little details here and there, so that we can hone in on some stuff, because a lot of this stuff carries over to this pair as well. What I want to emphasize though, and this is something that you will not necessarily need to have an authentic pair in hand to do, but what I want to emphasize is quality. These are supposed to look and feel higher quality than your average Jordan 1. The one thing that I can't stop talking about when it comes to the original Travis Scott Jordan 1 highs is, at least I feel like after handling so many fake pairs and doing real versus fake comparisons, the quality of the fakes never translates to what the whole package is for this. This pair lives and dies by the fact that it's just such a better overall quality Jordan 1 than what we're used to, and that's gonna translate to this pair. So the quick things that I want to show you while I have this pair out is, first and foremost, I want to translate how this should look on here. I've already talked about how soft the nubuck is, and while the Fragment pair doesn't have nubuck, it does have this tumbled leather. And what I want to emphasize here is that this is thick tumbled leather, but it's also soft tumbled leather. And This is what the leather here is what the entire shoe should be made up of. And I say should because it's kind of present on the white, although the leather is thick. It's a lot, I don't want to say it's a lot harder, but it's definitely harder to the touch. It's not as plush as these are, but it should definitely translate here. And the one thing that I want you guys to pay attention to is you can see the toe box of this authentic pair of Travis Scott 1 highs. And obviously my pair is used, but it's not so used that I can't make this point. If you look at how the tumbling is, and if you look at, I know there's a little bit of creasing, but you can actually get a sense of how thick and soft this leather is just by the creases in the toe box. And it's the same thing for the other pair. This is a pretty, my pair is worn, but it's really gently worn. So you can actually see how when you press it, you can see the definition. Now, when I go to the Fragment pair, I should be seeing something similar from all the blue leather. And while it's definitely tumbled and it's got a pretty decent texture to it, it doesn't have that, what's the word, that definition that I would like to see in an authentic pair. And that should be something that is a pretty good indicator if you're looking at a brand new pair or a very near dead stock pair. You can see that the leather is kind of flat, even with the texture on it. And it's the same thing across the rest of the shoe. Not bad per se, and I'm sure this is going to get a lot better as you wear it. Like you can see here that this is definitely soft leather, but it doesn't have that grain that I'm used to seeing or that I would expect to see from this shoe. The white definitely does it a lot better, even though it's a little bit harder than it should be. But quality is the thing that I'm talking about. Quality is the thing that should stand out. And if you are not seeing at the very least some tumbled leather here, some tumbled leather that looks soft, you're dealing with not only are you dealing with a fake, you're dealing with a bad fake. The next thing that you want to take a look at, obviously, is the shape of the reverse swoosh. You want to make sure that you have, I'll point it here, you want to make sure that you are in very close proximity to that second hole right here. This is what it's supposed to look like, very close to that second hole. And same thing here, it's a little bit further out, but you want it to be in relative proximity to that second hole. This pair does it fantastically on this right here, close to the second hole, a little bit close to the first hole, but this is not bad. Same thing here, you want that proximity to the second hole. So this is what I would consider in retail range, maybe 2 in line with the first hole, but really not something that, at least I wouldn't be able to call this out as fake based on this. I think one of the things that many fake pairs of Jordan 1s do is that the profiles are a little bit bulkier than what I would expect from an authentic pair. So you can see here, the shape is a little bit wider. My pair is worn, but in reality, worn pairs you would expect to branch out a little bit. But this is still pretty bulky. So it's a pretty good tip. Another very, very, very simple thing to check. You only need one authentic pair of any of the Travis Scotts, believe it or not, to be able to do this legit checking step. And it is to compare the sole colors. And one of the things that I tend to see, even when worn, one of the things that I tend to see is you see a darker sole on the rep pairs, and it's just like a tonal difference. And while I definitely see a tonal difference here, and you can see that even when my pair is worn, it's definitely got a paler kind of vibe going to it, while the rep pair is a little bit more fleshy, if that makes sense. It's almost got like pink undertones to it. I don't know how well that's coming up on the camera, but it's definitely something that you could see in person. So whether you have a pair of Fragments, reverse mochas, these, or the OG lows, throw them up against any pair you have in question, and you will be able to tell pretty immediately whether or not if it's real or fake. Sole color is usually my go-to. It's a very, very, very easy thing to look at. Other than that, there's not much to say. If this, for whatever reason, you choose this to be your first Travis Scott shoe, I can see a lot of people getting fooled by this. But if you have some experience with this pair and you pick up a pair of these and you're not floored by the quality of materials, then you're probably dealing with a rep pair. Overall, I think we're still in pretty dangerous territory when it comes to these reps, because they will fool a lot of people. That is for sure. They will fool a lot of people. But the next pair I'm going to bring out is my authentic pair of Fragment lows, and then we will check the Fragment specific things. So here we have my worn Fragment lows, and I'm going to use this to do a couple of things. We're going to want to do a color check. We are going to take a look at the Fragment logo thing here on the tongue, see how they compare. And most importantly, we're going to do a check on the midsole text, because that is a subtle thing that is usually pretty easy to take a look at. So first things first, let's take a look at the color. They have the same color code, so they should be the identical in color. So when we take a look at the backs, because I like to take a look at the backs, the easiest way to tell the difference here. You take a look at the back, you're definitely seeing a tonal difference in the blue of the rep highs versus the blue in the authentic lows. And I know that because there are actually different leathers, there will be some slight tonal differences, but you can see how vibrant the blue is on the low and how muted the blue is on the rep when they're side by side like this. And that is a very, very, very good indicator right here. And you can see the difference in the tonal colors of the thread as well. And they should match. The rep has a lighter blue thread, while the authentic pair has a darker blue thread. But that's a pretty good contrast to look at. And from there, let's take a look at the sole colors, because I mentioned how you can be able to tell, regardless of the pair that you have that you're comparing to the pair in question, you can see a similar vibe, a paler aged sole on the authentic pair and a fleshier, maybe like pinker undertones on the rep. And that undertone makes this come off a little bit darker than on the authentic pair. Is this something that you'd be able to point out without having an authentic reference? I don't know if I could tell you that, but I know for sure once you get an authentic pair next to it, you will be able to see those differences, which is cool. The next thing that we'll look at, here we have the tooling codes on the sole. And the one thing that I tell people when it comes to legit checking Fragment lows is, when you take a look at that tooling code, it should not look like it came from a laser inkjet printer with no streaks or anything like that. It should not look like it is the freshest print, clean. This is not perfect. You can see how it's not in a straight line. It waves a little bit. The boldness, the weight of the font is not consistent throughout the whole thing. It's not. It's almost like this wasn't meant to be like a key feature of the shoe. But when you look at the rep here, it's crisp, it's clean, super legible, super consistent. That's not something that is actually accurate. It should look like an identifier, right? Like they did, like this has a purpose to why it's here, not necessarily because it's a style choice. But this looks like it's prim and proper, it's clean, it's in a straight line. Some will definitely argue that that's like a better thing, and I do think it looks better on the rep, but accuracy is what we're here to talk about, and it shouldn't look this crisp and clean. Next thing we'll do is we'll take a look at the colors on the Nike Air tag on the tongue. They're different Nike Air tags, but they should be very similar in color, and they are similar with the rep being a little bit darker of a blue than the authentic pair. And ironically, the Fragment design part of the tongue on the rep is smaller than on the authentic pair. And you can see that in the side-by-side here. And that's pretty much it. These shoes are really easy to legit check if you have an authentic reference, but they are really, really hard to point out if you don't, and if you're not familiar with this kind of shoe. I don't know many people out here who this pair right here, which is currently going for about $2,500, would be their first pair of Travis Scott ones where they would need a legit check. But it's still important to know what to look for. And this is going to be a really, really hard rep to do, or really, really hard shoe, I should say, to legit check if you don't have the tips that I put in this video or are familiar with the rest of the Travis Scott line, because if you know your way around a Travis Scott shoe, you'll probably be pretty good. But other than that, I would say these are still very legit checkable, but you got to know what you're looking for. I wouldn't be too afraid about shopping on the secondary market for this, but there's still things that you got to hone in on. So with all that said, guys, that's the end of this video. Maybe one day I'll cough up the money to do this, or maybe I'll do like a I don't know, maybe I'll do like a Patreon or something like that, so that if you guys want to donate towards me actually getting shoes to be able to make the videos that you want to see, we could do that. But and that's neither here nor there. But other than that, I hope you guys enjoyed this video. I wanted to do a really quick guide, and I will leave the information above so that you can see more detailed images of this on the Yes Yeezy Instagram page, and you can see you can see everything. You'll have everything that you need to make an informed decision, and you'll be able to see all the details, everything that I'm talking about. Hopefully I can capture some of these images so that when you're doing your research, you got everything you need. With all that said, guys, I will see you in the next one. Peace.